I stood up to my bullying boss. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I sat at my desk, my fingers trembling over the keyboard, trying to focus on the spreadsheet in front of me. It was a stifling Thursday afternoon in March 2025, and I was 27 years old, a junior data analyst at a logistics company in Denver, Colorado. The office was a gray, utilitarian space, cubicles stretching endlessly, the faint hum of printers and the occasional clink of coffee mugs on desks. I'd been with the company for just over a year, a job I'd taken right out of grad school hoping to build a stable career. But that hope was crumbling under the weight of my boss, Karen, whose voice, sharp and cutting, echoed through the office like a storm siren. "You call this a report?" she barked, slamming a stack of papers onto my desk, her eyes blazing with disdain. I shrank in my chair, my stomach nodding, as my colleagues pretended not to notice. Karen was in her early 40s, a tall woman with a severe bob haircut and a wardrobe of power suits, her presence commanding and intimidating. She'd been my manager since I started, and from day one she'd made it clear she had no patience for mistakes, or for me. I'd heard rumors about her before I joined, how she'd driven 2 analysts to quit in the past year with her relentless criticism. But I thought I could handle it. I was wrong. She'd berate me in front of the team for the smallest errors, like a misplaced decimal in a data set, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Did you even go to college?" She'd assign me impossible deadlines, then criticize me for not meeting them, even when I stayed late, my eyes burning from staring at the screen. One Monday, she'd thrown my entire quarterly report in the trash, saying, "This is garbage. Do it again by tomorrow." I'd gone home that night to my small apartment near downtown Denver. The city lights blurred through my tears as I sat on my couch, wondering how much more I could take. The bullying took its toll. I started dreading work, my mornings filled with a gnawing anxiety that left me nauseous. I'd wake up at 5 a.m., unable to sleep, staring at the ceiling of my bedroom, the soft glow of streetlights filtering through my curtains. My apartment was a modest space, like with a secondhand couch, a rickety desk, and a few plants I'd bought to cheer myself up. But even they were wilting under my neglect. I stopped joining my colleagues for lunch, isolating myself to avoid Karen's wrath. My performance suffered. I made more mistakes, missed deadlines, and felt my confidence erode with every harsh word. My best friend Sam noticed the change during a call one evening. "You sound exhausted," he said, his voice gentle. "You don't have to put up with this." But I felt trapped. Jobs in my field were scarce, and I couldn't afford to quit without a backup plan. The breaking point came on that Thursday in March. I'd spent 2 weeks preparing a logistics optimization report, pulling data from multiple systems, working late every night to ensure it was perfect. I double-checked every number, every chart, my eyes bleary from the effort. I submitted it to Karen that morning, hoping for a rare nod of approval. Instead, she stormed over to my desk at 2 p.m., the report in her hand, her face contorted with anger. "This is unacceptable," she shouted, loud enough for the entire floor to hear. "You've got errors in the projections. Again, are you even trying?" She tore the report in half, the pages fluttering to the floor, and tossed the pieces onto my desk. "Fix it by tomorrow, or you're done." My colleagues froze, their eyes darting away, the silence suffocating. I felt a heat rise in my chest, a mix of humiliation and rage. I'd had enough. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor, my voice trembling but firm. "Karen, this isn't fair," I said, locking eyes with her. "I've worked hard on that report and I've checked everything. If there's an error, let's go through it together, but you can't keep treating me like this." The office went deathly quiet, the air thick with tension. Karen's face reddened, her mouth opening as if to retort. But I didn't stop. "I've been staying late, taking on extra work, and all I get is criticism. I deserve respect." She stared at me, stunned, then turned on her heel and stormed back to her office, slamming the door. I sat down, my heart pounding, my hands shaking. I'd just stood up to my bully of a boss, and I had no idea what would happen next. The rest of the day was a blur. My colleagues whispered among themselves, some casting me wary glances, others offering small nods of support. I stayed late again, piecing together the torn report, my mind racing. Had I just ruined my career? The next morning, I braced myself as I walked into the office, expecting the worst. At 10 a.m., Karen called me into her office. I stepped inside, my stomach in knots, and saw HR rep Michael sitting there, a notepad in his lap. Karen's expression was unreadable as she gestured for me to sit. "I've thought about what you said," she began, her voice unusually calm. "I've been too hard on you, and I'm sorry." I blinked, caught off guard. She continued, "Michael and I reviewed your report together this morning. There were no errors. You were right. I overreacted." Michael nodded, adding, "We're also addressing the feedback about your work environment. Karen will be attending leadership training and will ensure this doesn't happen again." I left the meeting in a daze, a mix of relief and disbelief washing over me. Karen's apology wasn't just a win, it was a turning point. Over the next few months, her behavior changed dramatically. She started giving constructive feedback instead of criticism, assigning realistic deadlines, and even praising my work in team meetings. One Friday, she pulled me aside to say, "Your analysis on the last project saved us a lot of time. Good work." I smiled genuinely for the first time in months. The office atmosphere improved for everyone. My colleagues seemed less tense, more collaborative, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. That moment of standing up to Karen didn't just change my work environment, it changed me. I regained my confidence taking on bigger projects and even mentoring a new hire. 6 months later, I was promoted to senior data analyst, a role that came with a raise and a corner desk with a view of the Rockies. I upgraded my apartment, adding a proper desk for late-night work and a new plant to replace the ones I'd neglected. I started hiking on weekends, the crisp Colorado air filling my lungs as I reflected on how far I'd come. Standing up to my bullying boss had been terrifying, but it had paid off in ways I never imagined. Reflecting on that experience, it's clear that workplace bullying can erode your confidence, but it doesn't have to define you. When someone faces a toxic boss, they should document the behavior, seek support from HR, and stand up for themselves with calm, assertive communication. She turned her situation around by speaking up, even when it felt risky, and by focusing on her work's quality to back up her stance. If you're dealing with a bully at work, don't suffer in silence. Gather evidence, involve HR if needed, and advocate for your worth. You might just find the strength to change your story for the better.